Good morning from paradise. My name is Crypto Amaru. We got Crypto Hitman in the house. If you guys like legit projects that are building in the space for multiple years, have built real products, real tech in an up and coming sector called DePIN, well, then you've come to the right spot. We have Charvel here, the CEO and founder of a new project. It's about to launch. It's on Solana. DePIN project. We've invested, by the way, full disclosure, we have invested in this project. We're bullish on it. We hope it does well. We're here to support. So we're going to be sitting down with Charvel today, the ins and outs of the project, get to know him a little bit. We'll have some fun questions in there. But with that, what's going on, Charvel? Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm doing great. Thank you both for having me here today and for putting this together for the community to learn more about crypto and what's going on. My name is Shill Chill. I'm CEO and founder at Wayru. I'm very happy to be here and chatting about DePIN and our upcoming launch.
Awesome, man. So why don't we start with more of a high-level question? Folks may not know this term DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure, right? It stands for. What exactly is DePIN? What problem is it trying to solve? How does it relate to blockchain?
Right. So DePIN is, as you just mentioned, a decentralized physical infrastructure network. So it's basically a distributed physical network of actual nodes that provide some type of service to either B2Bs or B2Cs. It could be a community, it could be companies. There's different types of services. For example, there's storage. DePINs. Instead of you relying on a centralized entity to store all your stuff, all your pictures and videos, there's companies having decentralized hard drives around the world doing the exact same thing, but instead of relying on one company managing all these, you rely on a community-driven network. In a specific case, we do connectivity. We do telecommunications. So everybody knows how telecommunications work. You have either cell towers so you can connect your mobile devices, or you have Wi-Fi in your homes or favorite restaurants where you can connect your laptops, phones, or any other device that has Wi-Fi accessibility. These networks are usually managed by a centralized entity. In a decentralized physical infrastructure network, all these hotspots are managed by individuals like you. So you could be deploying one of these mini cell towers in your home or in your business and providing the service to either big telcos or small startups that need connectivity for their clients. Yeah, I think with those two examples, it'll be very, very easy to grasp what a DePIN is.
Yeah, it's interesting that DePIN is becoming kind of a hot narrative alongside AI and some other things, because before it was called DePIN, we actually had a big hype in the 2017 bull market around storage and decentralized storage from people having extra hardware space on their personal computer. Last year, we've seen DePIN in the form of GPU farms and data farms for AI, and now you're talking about this infrastructure around Wi-Fi, which is what you guys are focusing on, and telecommunications, which really might have a bigger footprint, because everybody in the world is connecting to Wi-Fi. Everybody in the world is trying to do telecommunications, and maybe Wayru can be that number one decentralized option. So I'm excited to learn more about that.
Yeah, 100%. And if you think about what you just said, and something that we were talking before we started recording, how many people go to a casino versus how many people get connected to the internet every day? And if you think about that, you understand that what we have in crypto today is that people that like the casino, we need a real product or service that brings in people to blockchain or crypto without even knowing what they're doing. Like, for example, users that download our mobile app to get free Wi-Fi, they have no idea that they are getting connected to a crypto-based, blockchain-based network. At the same time, deployments provide a Wi-Fi network that allows people to connect via captive portal. In that scenario, people don't even realize they're connecting. They don't even know that there's an app to download. They can connect to a captive portal, just like you would do at any airport, and you're getting this service without even knowing you are using blockchain. So we believe that for blockchain use and to actually onboard the next billion people to blockchain, telecommunications is the way to go. It's 100% the way to go.
Yeah, it's just so refreshing to hear. I mean, obviously, look, we've been in the trenches, memes and, various other hyped up sectors. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong.
Yeah, when you're sitting down with someone who's building technology that leverages blockchain, but has that mass adoption appeal, right, could hit and we'll get to how many users and stuff like that in your adoption curve and so on, but could get to millions of users, not knowing they're using blockchain, but it's there in the background, sort of powering the infrastructure. I mean, that's the dream I was sold when I got into crypto back in 2017, 2018. It didn't really go in that direction so much. We went in a different direction for the most part, the industry did. But maybe we're heading back towards a place where blockchain's solving real problems and it's kind of that tech is there in the background. So this is very refreshing to hear. So Charvel, tell us about the infrastructure you guys have built, the hotspots, and how does blockchain work within that, and how does the token work within that as well?
Right. So what we have done, well, we found that there's several problems with the promise of deepin as well. Okay. So one of the problems is the accessibility for you to become a participant of the network. You have to buy a specific hardware from a specific project on a specific website. And this is a bottleneck problem that doesn't allow the network to grow as fast as it could possibly grow. So we focused on building firmware, right? So we have our own hotspots, and I have one right here that I can show you. We have our own hotspots, right? This is one of our indoor hotspots. But what we did, we extended the compatibility of the firmware that runs on our hotspots, which is called the WayruOS, and we extended that to existing devices and units around the world. So you could just go and get a secondhand $20 worth TP-Link today off of eBay or Amazon, and you can do this worldwide. And what you do, you flash the firmware, you upgrade the existing firmware with our firmware, and it turns that hotspot or that everyday router into a Wayru hotspot, which you can use just as one that you bought from us. So this is something very important that we did, and just going a little bit away from the question, and something else that we found is that on the deepin ecosystem, there's the deepin flywheel, right? I can reward you with tokens for providing or building this network until we get users down the road, which will pay for the service. So then the curve will start to go up in our favor, right? The problem is that in some cases, specifically in telecommunication cases, you need deployments to be done in commercial areas, right? You need this to be deployed in a restaurant. You can deploy at your house as well, but you'll get less usage or less benefits for a community than if you deploy this on a park. And this has a monthly fixed cost for you to do this. The internet or connectivity, or maybe the lease that you have to pay for a restaurant to allow you to deploy your hotspot there. Whatever it is, you have to sell tokens every month so that you can pay for those operational expenses, which hurts the ecosystem. This is simple, and this is true for every other deepin out there. And what the community is expecting is for the centralized project to have revenue, and to some of that revenue to be injected into the token somehow, into the ecosystem, right? So if this doesn't happen from a centralized entity, or if whatever they're doing is not enough, then there is no real monetization for the operators, making them or pushing them to sell their sell pressure every month or every whatever time frame they work on to pay for their expenses. So what we have done, and we have been building from quite a while now, we're prototyping and designing, we're in the building phase right now, is monetization tools for the individual operators. So for example, you could deploy 100 hotspots in a small town, and you yourself could monetize that, making your own Wi-Fi access company in that small town. You could, for example, target restaurants, right? And you could have the premium monetization tool for the captive portal, which allows you to show your own ads, third-party ads, and have all your branding there in the captive portal. There's a small fee for the operator to pay for that, which they can then go and charge directly to their customer, cheaper than any other solution for captive portals out there today. This is not yet launched. It's going to launch Q3 this year, but we have been building all these tools around the problems that we have encountered, we have seen on the deepin ecosystem for the past 2 years. So going back to your question, when we started with third-party units using our firmware until we started building our own units. We deployed hotspots in low-income community areas. That's how we started back in the day. Those went great. We raced around when you guys came in. And when we did that, we built our own units so people can start building the network anywhere in the world. And we're talking about after previous bull market, we were on the bear market. We were going to start building these units for people to buy and deploy, but the market was a big mess at that time. So what we decided to do, we decided to wait it out by allowing users to share existing Wi-Fi networks via our mobile app. So people could only use our mobile app, go around finding networks they had access to, either because they were open, like I don't know, like an airport or a McDonald's Wi-Fi open network, or they could know the password for their favorite restaurant, whatever it was, they could share it there. So that's how we got through the bear market. We did that. We've gotten over 500,000 downloads on our mobile app, and we have over 12 million networks mapped on our mobile app today. Those were mapped. It's been about 2 years now since we started mapping those networks, which has been great. And that helped us get through the bear market until we actually launched our units for people to start getting them, which was late last year. So we had 0 units deployed from the community. We deployed some in low-income communities. We had about probably 200 to 300 units. And now we have almost 3,000 units on the network from October last year until now, until today. And those combine units we deploy in low-income communities directly with partners on the ground, units that people have bought either from us or through our distributors and have deployed them themselves around the world, either in their homes or restaurants. People buying bring your own units or bring your own devices from anywhere in the world and turning them into Wayru hotspots. And the latest that we added was the ability to turn enterprise-grade Wi-Fi networks into Wayru data-only nodes. So those don't earn daily coverage tokens because we cannot make sure where they are really located, that they are providing the connectivity all day, as we can do on our units or bring your own devices, but they can still earn from the data transferred through their hotspots. And we have about 600, almost 700 of those. And those we are looking at our tool. We look at that as our tool to bring in B2Bs. So we are targeting large ISPs, large MSPs that already manage large fleets of hotspots to turn them into Wayru hotspots today. So fast forward today, we have served almost 1 million users. We have served over 5,000 TBs just in the past 6 months to those almost 1 million users. Those are between mobile users through our mobile app and just people working around near our hotspots connecting through our captive portal. The captive portal is it's probably one of the most interesting ways that people get connected right now, especially in low-income communities. They don't know there's a mobile app. They stumble upon, a sign that says free Wi-Fi. They look for this free Wi-Fi. They just fill out, probably they create their account, or they have to watch a 20-second ad for 20 minutes of free Wi-Fi. We are going to extend that. They're going to be able to watch 2 or 3 20-second ads to get for 20, 40, 60 minutes of free Wi-Fi. This is how we expect to make revenue from this captive portal and from people paying for the premium captive portal, which I mentioned earlier, that operators are going to be able to pay, let's say it costs $10 a month. You can get that same service today for $100 a month from vendors. So they can go and resell this to their B2B customers, being their restaurants, cafeterias, so they can pay a very small fee to have full control of this captive portal. Our users and telcos that work with us can still use those hotspots and can still offload carrier data to those hotspots, but we allow the owner or the host of the network, the specific standalone hotspot, to monetize in different ways as well. So we hopefully are making some dents here in the ecosystem so that other projects can also focus on providing these monetization tools for the community and not relying on centralized monetization only.
Yeah, so it sounds like the user growth is already there, even before you guys have a token or anything. Obviously, our community is more interested in how does that user growth, and hopefully it's projected to continue to increase, gain revenue. And then how does that impact Wayru token holders? Like, why do I want to be a token holder? How does the company benefit from revenue? And how do the token holders benefit from this expansion and this decentralized Wi-Fi network?
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. And the token dynamics are simple. In Wayru, we have something called the data credits. And these data credits will allow you to access premium services on the Wayru network. So, for example, let's say we cut a deal with a major telco in the United States to offload data from their subscribers, whatever amount they have, millions of subscribers, into Wayru hotspots, right? This is called premium data on the Wayru network. So this premium data that we're getting paid for burns tokens for the data credits to be accessible for these final users. So if a telco uses 1 million GBs on the Wayru network in any given month, we are going to burn 1 cent per GB for times that 1 million GBs used on the network. This is public information. This is on our documentation. This is under the token dynamics and the data credits section, which explains what data credits are for and how Wayru burns these tokens every time we get a paid service paid through us. And then the idea behind the monetization tools for operators is that whenever they pay for these premium monetization tools, there's going to be a token burn as well. A percentage of that payment is also going to be directly bought from the market and burned to elevate tokens, the token's value, not necessarily price-wise, but at least ideally wise, there's less tokens in circulation than there was before. And why I mentioned this is very important to understand. There's two things very important to understand for token holders, because token holders are very biased as to what the winners are saying and how these things need to work for them to become successful in the long term. And you can see a lot of 10 years, 20 years from now, people are going to have their tokens on their wallets, maybe on their phones, on their watch, whatever it is, where they are carrying it, and they'll be able to tap into the network and pay directly to the oracles, which then distribute to the hotspots. Plus the emissions, which will continue to last 100 years. And why we thought on the long term, we had this long-term vision, because the type of project that we're building is not the one you win the race via hype, but with endurance. So short-time hype, I mean, yeah, it's great. Some people make money fast, people that are holding to it, but it's not the best for the project. It's not what you expect from a company that wants to be here 100 years from now, still fighting for a more a more connected world with more opportunities for everyone. Because everybody has to understand that Wayru was born to fix a very, very big problem around the world. Almost 3 billion people don't have reliable connectivity. Only in Latin America, where I'm from, 250 million people don't have reliable internet access. So there's a huge, I don't like to call it opportunity, but there's a 500 billion digital gap opportunity that we're tapping into.
Well, and I think what people might look at that and be like, well, is that a little ambitious? 100-year emission plan. That's pretty crazy to think about in crypto, but I just looked it up, and AT&T was founded 147 years ago with the invention of the telephone. So that's pretty crazy. You know, they're 147 years old, telecommunication company. AT&T, everybody's heard of AT&T, used AT&T, or maybe uses it currently. So 100 years isn't all that crazy to think about. And I guess you'll hop the hurdle of what happens once those emission runs out after 100 years if we get to that point.
Right. As I mentioned, after 100 years, we are 100% sure that people are going to be paying directly to access the network. So operators are not going to be relying on daily emissions. But the usage, because tokens are going to be out there already being used, are the actual way of transferring the wealth from one hands to another hands via accessing the network. I have the tokens, you have the network. I pay you with my tokens, you get those tokens for providing the access. At the beginning, of course, the centralized entity has to maybe manage the initial deployments, handhold everybody until this gets up and running by itself and massively big. But we do believe that in the next 5 years, it's going to be 100% fully decentralized. Everything, oracles, how the network is being built, developer tools being built, so the ecosystem can continue to grow. There's going to be grants for that, initially powered by the foundation. But yeah, eventually those can be powered by the oracles, by the same operators, or by early holders, just to see the project going further and further ahead, in both in time and growth.
Yeah, very cool, man. Love the long-term mindset. I know you guys have been building for, I mean, heck, we invested 3 or 4 years ago at this point, and you've been building prior to that, and it sounds like you're going to continue to be building. It's a project, I look at, you can kind of feel good about being a part of it. It's trying to solve a really important problem in the world, first of all, and you guys are working very hard to achieve that, and it's a long-term thing. So that appeals, I think, to a lot of people in crypto, despite maybe the headlines and everyone's just in memes. There are people that want to be a part of something meaningful. So Wayru, I think, checks a lot of those boxes. So I noticed that Solana did a video about you guys, if I'm not mistaken. So talk to us about Solana's relationship to the project. I know you used to be doing stuff with Algorand Foundation and over there. Now you're on Solana. So tell us about how Solana involved with Wayru.
Right. So when we started Wayru, and I was looking into blockchains to choose one from, I realized that we weren't building for the blockchain, or we weren't building for the blockchain community per se, but we were building for a community that didn't even know about blockchain. So it didn't even matter which one we chose, right? We needed one to allow our technology to run smoothly, so that we didn't get delays, we didn't get extra costs and stuff like that. When we started back in the day, we started on Algorand. It's a great blockchain, very fast, fees are very low, very stable. We started there, but not with the idea of only being there. We started there, but with the idea from day one to become a multi-chain project. Because the more people we allowed to participate on the project, it would inevitably allow us to get to our goals faster. So we didn't want to have the problem when I have a very excited person about the project, but they are not getting in because we're not on the chain of their preference. That's why I mentioned earlier in our conversation that we want to fix this problem for people without them even knowing that blockchain is behind, right? So fast forward, we extended to other blockchains. We extended to IOTEX, we extended to Peak, and we extended to Solana. Why those? Because Peak and IX are 100% focused on deepin. These are great communities, great blockchains as well. And Solana had the largest deepin projects and the largest amount of deepin projects as well. So that's why we chose those after Algorand. We didn't choose Algorand because of deepin. Deepin wasn't a thing back then when we started. Deepin started probably a year and something ago. When we started, there was no term for this. It was even very hard to explain to investors what we were building because there was no term and there was no previous projects that had become successful, right? So once we had these 4 chains open on the network side, so people could join, we saw a massive increase of mints on the Solana blockchain. So we are launching on Solana because most of our crypto-focused or crypto-based users or crypto or blockchain user base is focused on Solana and chose Solana to mint instead of the other 3 chains that we had available. We had this option for them. We waited 3 months to see which was the blockchain that had the most. Even when Solana was the last one to launch, we had the other 3 chains live for a couple of months, and then we launched Solana, and in less than a month, it more than doubled the amount of hotspots on Solana than the other chains combined. So when we decided to migrate everything to Solana, it was because we had over 80% of our hotspots deployed on Solana. So yeah, it was a no-brainer in that
pretty
moment.
wild, and it must be somebody pretty high up over in Solana that's kind of got the community onboarded, because Solana themselves put out that massive video on you guys, and that was exactly 1 month ago today. So it'd be nice to have that Solana support. The other thing I think of is you guys are a telecommunication company, and Solana has been leading into launching this Solana-based mobile device. And maybe that's where their connection and the hype can come from, is you have Solana support, you got the Solana mobile device coming, and most of the hotspots are launched on Solana. Well, maybe a lot of those Solana mobile device users can use these Wayru hotspots to access Wi-Fi and data for those devices. That's kind of a low-hanging fruit. That's kind of the my mindset as a degen or a speculator, I would be leaning into that marketing angle and the support from Solana, because this is a video from Solana's official account, 3.3 million followers, exactly 1 month ago today, and that's that video that we were showing earlier when you were talking right at the beginning of the interview, if you guys want to go back and take a closer look at that. So that's exciting stuff, and we'll see what kind of support Solana as a network brings to you guys, because there's a lot of users on Solana. Meme coins are doing well, utility tokens are doing well, Solana token itself is doing well. You know, it's one of the, you know, hype scaling solutions outside of BSC that I think is, you know, standing here cycle after cycle, and has the support and the user base from both retail and institutional grade investors.
Yeah, 100%. We, as I mentioned before, the reason why we chose Solana at the end to launch as our main chain, it's simply because of the amount of support we got from the community. We made this decision way before the Solana Foundation even noticed that we existed. Now they support a lot of projects. Hopefully they will continue to support us in the future. We are getting compatibility for our mobile app to be to live on the Solana phones as well. So we are working with the Solana mobile team on that. Hopefully we'll get that in there before the Seeker phone ships, because it's supposed to ship very, very soon. We're around the corner from the beginning of summer, and they are supposed to be shipping that during this summer. So hopefully we'll see more partnerships with Solana Mobile, and with other projects on the Solana ecosystem as well.
I mean, certainly in their interest to work with legit projects solving real problems with genuine adoption, they're going to further usage of their own network. So you'd think that synergies would be aligned and they would continue to support you, but let's see if that happens. So, all right, we're right on the precipice of the token launch. So talk to us about the plan for the launch. What makes your guys' approach maybe different than from other DePIN projects, and kind of what you're expecting around the time of launch and maybe post-launch as well?
Right. So we have chosen not to talk about the token launch that much, but since this is going to be before launch, but this is going to be probably aired around token launch, so it's fine. So well, our approach here is the fairest launch possible from a project that has already raised funds from institutional investors, right? Because usually fair launch means you have raised nothing, you just put the token out there and people go and buy the token. That's where you get your funds from. We are not going to have a public sale, meaning when we launch the token, we are not expecting people to come and buy the token for us to fund the project, but this is going to be a liquidity pool for people to go and buy and sell the token in the free market. So that said, to start, we are going to release all tokens from previous investors day one. So there's going to be no lockups, no long 3-4 year lockups, which means the community really don't know what's going to happen next month, who's going to get tokens and what's going to happen with those tokens. Those tokens are going to be fully unlocked and vested day one. They're going to be sent to investors' addresses. We have a great group of investors. We know these investors are not looking to liquidate or anything similar. They have been super supportive. So the decision of giving them all the tokens they want is also based on this mutual trust and relationship that we have, and shared vision of the success of the project. We are going to go full DEX. There's not going to be listing on centralized exchanges. We do not believe in manipulating the price at token launch, and this is mostly what happens when you list in a centralized exchange day one. This is just how the methodology works. There's marketing tokens. There's a lot of things that go towards inflating a price for hype and not for what the community and the market really believes about the token. So that's why we chose DEX only. We're going to launch on the Radium decentralized exchange on Solana. It's going to be one concentrated pool at the beginning. Then, well, the market will take it from there. Later on, we have already been talking to centralized exchanges, but we have told them that if we do that, it'll be after listing, after launch, not at launch, so that we don't rely on that for the token price, but we actually have a real token price when we are on these exchanges, and actually tap into a community to come and participate from our ecosystem. Not a community to come and try to, pump and dump as soon as possible. What else can I tell you about the launch? It's going to happen this month. It's going to happen before the end of the month. We are going to announce this today. So I can probably say it's going to be the 29th. We're going to announce this later on today. It's going to be a public announcement. You're probably gonna have to go a little bit back on the timeline to see the announcement. Probably when you see this, whoever's watching, you have already seen the announcement on when TGE is happening. We chose. It's not like there is a magic tool to choose the time, the specific date and time to launch. We just chose this because it was the best for the project timeline, and it happens to be a great timeline for what's happening with the market right now. We had a previous not date established, but we wanted to launch a couple months prior, and we made the decision to move it a couple months ahead due to a lot of things that were happening in the market and a lot of things that were happening within the project itself that we needed to have completed, like the foundation. It's put in place. We didn't have that put in place at the beginning, and it was very important. That is super important. The legalities of launching a token are very, very important. So we have that, and unlike other projects that reward their operators with external platforms that you have to go and claim your tokens elsewhere, or you get your airdrop somewhere else for your work, we built our smart contracts for this. And are very complex. And we had to get this auditing company to work with us. The audit is public already. We're going to make a post about this. We haven't posted about it, but it's already public on our auditing partner's website. But that took some time. We found some stuff that we had to fix, which we already did. So we have that already fixed, up and running as well. Which was one of the main reasons why we decided to move the launch a little bit ahead. Just we needed to make sure that we were going to reward everyone through smart contracts day one, and not manually until we get that fixed later. So we want to have that day one. We already tested that on DevNet. A lot of community members helped out testing that. Everything's ready for launch next week.
Love it, man. Well, it sounds like you've been listening in on some of the advisory calls we have with projects where we tell them, don't list on the SEX immediately because there's going to be manipulation. They're likely going to dump your tokens. They're going to hurt your project, hurt the price, hurt the community. And also the basically the high float, the fact that you'll be giving pre-sale investors 100% of their tokens at the time of launch. Look, there is risk to that. Let's not pretend there's no potential downside. But these are all just trade-offs, right? These all decisions are kind of pros and cons, and you ultimately decide what's best for the projects and for the investors, old and new. And I think this approach, especially if you have guys and girls who are in this pre-sale round that we're like, for instance, that we're in, who believe in the project, who are willing to hold a bit to see where the development goes, the onboarding more users, usage of the token, a little bit of patience, a little bit extra patience, right? I think this model can work, and I hope it does, because the model of launching a sort of quote artificially high FD, fully diluted valuation, right? Maybe some pre-sale investors did very well, at least temporarily. But then you have these ultra long locking periods and ultra long vesting periods where it's sort of constant sell pressure every month. Well, we know what those charts look like. And we know that most people who invest in those kind of projects don't actually make money, but they're getting dumped on by the early investors. So when you say fair, that's what I think you mean. And let's see if this model works. I hope that it does. I truly, truly hope that it does. Not just as an investor, but as someone who cares about crypto and wants this industry to continue to succeed. If the mindset is, let's just find ways to dump on the next guy rather than let's build something of sustainable value over time, then this industry isn't really going to go anywhere. So, fingers crossed. I think it can work. I know I'll be holding my investment. Let's see where this goes. I've been holding this long. The bull market, by the way, has many more months in it. We've just had, obviously, this big downtrend. Looks like we broke up out of it. So if alt season is coming in the next, say, 3, 6, 9 months, well, wouldn't it be wise to wait for that before you decide to take profits? Not financial advice, of course, but anyway, I really like how you guys are doing. Fair, high float, low FDVs, a lot of potential upside for new investors, and for old investors, they're getting all their tokens. So it's, there's no perfect way to go about token economics. There's always trade-offs. There's always going to be potential winners, potential losers in that. But it sounds like you're doing things the best way that you know how. So a lot of respect, a lot of kudos to that. I don't know, Hitman, if you had any comments on the token economics and the approach, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
No, I think you kind of covered it all, and we'll see at what valuation the token actually launches, and we'll see what kind of growth we get out of that. If investors want to sell out, at least you can get them all out quickly. And with the decentralized liquidity pool, you can see which addresses are selling, which is buying, and you can't have the IOUs that we find out that sexes are doing behind the scenes, which is something you want to avoid. And once the project finds a footing, finds a volume profile, then that helps in your negotiations either for free listings or discounted listings on centralized exchanges, which opens you up to another user base of the crypto sector, which is the speculators and the traders as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
put it that myself.
I was just gonna say, I'm glad you're not abandoning or sort of saying, oh, we're never gonna list on a sex. That's not what you're saying. You're saying day one it's gonna be DEX focus. Maybe that persists for a week, month, whatever. But ultimately, you will look to list on centralized exchange, which I think is smart, because that is a way to expand the brand profile. It's a way to get more eyeballs. It's a way to get more token holders. There are certain people in the space who would prefer to use sexes. But on day one, the problem is when you do it on day one of the launch, is the sex often has gotten paid in tokens to some degree or another, and they're selling them, and that obviously hurts the project. So good call all around. Very excited. April 29th, right around the corner. So we will continue to support you guys around the time of launch and after as well. So, all right, cool. Well, we're at about 45 minutes. It's a great interview. Any final thoughts? Where do you see Wayru in, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Well, we started in Latin America, and all of the team is from Latin America. So we think and we believe firmly that in the next 5 years, there's going to be telecommunications industry takeover by Deepin, led by Wayru in Latin America. Other projects are doing this and will do probably the same in other regions, but we are the only ones in Latin America with a Latin American team focused on the region. We know all the details, all the deets and treats here in Latin America, how you get things done. Plus the project builders, aka our team, we have all experienced the problem that we are trying to solve firsthand. So yeah, I believe in the power of that, solving a problem for yourself and extending that to the rest of the world, because that's what I've been doing since I started in telecommunications myself. So we see ourselves partnering with all major, minor, and mid telcos in Latin America to allow them to reduce costs for their users connecting to our networks and increase bandwidth 100% for the operations, and that in terms of B2B and B2C, we are going to be like the new way of people referring to getting connected to Wi-Fi outside. Today, there's no like a real name. It's just free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi here, free Wi-Fi there. It's all different. You have different types of platforms on each one. Or ones have passwords, one have, 10-minute long forms or surveys you have to fill. We want to become that accessibility brand. That brand that resembles how people get access to connectivity in Latin America first and the world. Remember, we have global deployments. We have global networks mapped, but there's no competitors in Latin America where we are focusing to push very, very hard. The United States and Latin America, there's competition in the United States. We are all different. We all try to somehow solve similar problems, but in different ways. So we don't really kind of compete, but not head-to-head compete. But in Latin America, we want to focus on taking the whole market.
Yeah, and in close proximity to some of the Latin American countries is El Salvador. So we need to get some Wayru deployments down there at El Salvador and Bitcoin Beach, as they're very crypto-friendly, talking to Trump and everything else, trying to create a quote-unquote agreement between the United States and El Salvador for digital assets. It would be nice to get some Wayru deployments down on that Bitcoin Beach down there.
Yeah, awesome. If you have connections there or people who are probably interested in deploying these hotspots, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of businesses there all around crypto or crypto first businesses in terms of how they charge. So probably they are very interested in deploying one of these hotspots at their locations. So yeah, excited about that.
We also got to get you down in Tulum to the Paradise Pad. That's where we like to hang out when we're not doing our day jobs. So it'll be awesome to have you down there. We're gonna be doing some events down there too later this year. It'd be really cool to get some Wayru stuff going on. But yeah, man, awesome to have you on the show. Best of luck with the launch. We will be supporting, watching, and let's see if this ends up being a new model for a token launch. Right? Like it's a radically different approach for utility coins, but it does strike me as a lot more fair. So let's see how that goes. Appreciate your time, Charvel. Until next time, guys. See you on the beach.
See you.